Welcome back to Database DevOps from start to finish. Right now, we are in the Modifying an Existing Database section. And this lesson, we're going to merge in external changes that have been made to our database. This is where it gets a little tricky, but at the same time, we have the tools to make it simple. Let's go to Visual Studio, and let's pretend we've made some changes over here on the left. So I'm going to simulate this by people left to purchase for. We double click on this and just look at this right here, which is a little complicated, but maybe we can add some extra information to here. And something as simple as a full name. So we can say per.firstname plus a space plus per.lastname as full name. And we can break these out into multiple lines so we can see it a little better. Something like that. So now we have our full name, which is just first name space last name. Kind of a silly change, but it's there. Oops, we don't save it. We hit update. And that's going to prepare scripts for us. It's going to figure out what needs to be changed, and then it's going to allow us to publish those changes. Every once in a while, this takes a little bit of time, and so I don't typically do this modification this way. This is modifying the actual database in LocalDB. It's not making the modification in my project. So this script process can take a little bit extra, and that's why I don't necessarily do it this way. This would be more if you were going to, if you had SSMS or some external way of making changes to a database, that's what this is simulating. And in this case, the tooling here is being a little bit stubborn. So what I'm going to do is cancel that. I'm going to open up, I'm going to first copy this script so I have it. I'm going to open up SSMS. This is the tool I probably would be using for external changes if I was not making changes right through Visual Studio. So I'll go here to my views, and I can see the view right here, which it's unmodified right now. So if I go to Design View, we'll see that there is no full name. What I can do is instead, I'll open up a new window. I'm going to paste in this script. But notice this is a create script. We already have a people left to purchase for, which is why we get the red squiggly. All scripts inside Visual Studio are create scripts. And what it does is it figures out later if it needs to make it an alter instead. So I'm going to make this an alter myself. And this will alter that view for us. Now it's done. If I were to go and design this, now we have that full name property or full name column. So now that's done. Now I can come back over here. If I were to close this out and don't save the changes, but I look at it again, if I were to view the code for it, once it retrieves it, it will see that, yes, I do have that full name in place. So this is now simulated that I've made some changes to a view and a table that were not in or are not in my Visual Studio project, even though I've started this project. So someone made some changes with SSMS instead of Visual Studio. Now you may set up rules that say, hey, only change it in Visual Studio. It's the easiest thing to do. But honestly, your DBAs or people on your staff who have been used to using SSMS may find it's just easier for them to use that tool. And you don't want to punish them for using that tool because it's a great tool. I definitely encourage it. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to bring those changes in to our project. Now we can't right click and say import because notice we only have script available to us because we already have our database started. Instead, we're going to need to do a schema comparison. So I'm going to create a new folder. So add new folder right at the root of Christmas list DB that is schema compares. So I have it. Now I'm going to right click on my project. I'm going to say schema compare. It's the third option on my screen. And this, it always takes me a minute to get it right. So you got to look at this and make sure you understand what's going on. It puts in the source box our SQL project. And it says, okay, what are you comparing that to for a target? Well, actually, we want our project to be the target. And that's, again, to think spatially is sometimes hard for me. So I have to think through what I want to do. Well, I want to bring the changes from one location to another. In this case, I want them to come from my database and to my project. So I want to switch the source and target. The source is going to be my database. So I can select a source and I can choose a database. In this case, the Christmas list DB. And I hit OK. And the target is my project. And I can say compare. And what that will do is it will compare the database to the project and see if there are changes. And in fact, there's a folder here that says change. Here's the things that need to be changed. We go to table. If we click on this, and let's give ourselves some more screen real estate here. Notice this looks like a git compare. If you're familiar with the source control tool git, on the left is what we have in the database. Well, on the right is what we have in our project. Notice we have an addition of this column. For the view, we have on the left what's been changed. This is the new version, this is what it was. So we're going to add this line and subtract this line essentially. So we can see all the different differences or changes based upon this comparison. We can also decide not to include a certain change or include a certain change using this checkbox here. So with that, now what we can do is I can actually hit save first and go up one level and look at my schema compares. And this is going to be from DB to project. Hit OK. Now I can close this out. I didn't do anything with it. I just closed it out. But now I can go to my show all folders, which is show all files. And then in here, I can bring in that schema compare. So right click and say include in project. And now I can turn off that show all files. And now I have that schema comparison. I can double click on it and it's already preloaded for me, just like my published profiles. Now it doesn't show up immediately. You have to do that import into project by showing all files. But by doing this, what we can do is run this over and over. Notice there's no changes here because I haven't hit compare yet. But now I can just hit compare without having to set up where is it coming from, where is it going to, and make sure I get that direction right. I hit compare. It's going to find those changes, and I can hit the update target. And again, this is the direction it's going. It's going from the location on the left, going to the location on the right. If you get this backwards, what will happen is it will remove that column in the table, and it will remove that line in the view. So make sure you get it right, otherwise you're going to have the opposite of what you wanted. So I hit update. And it says, are you sure that you want to update the target? Yes. So now it's updating the target. Target update complete. Press compare to refresh the comparison. Now there's nothing here that's changed. So now if you go to the purchase table, we'll see the purchased on column. If we go to the view, the people left a purchase view, we'll see we now have that full name column. So that's how you bring in changes externally. So now we have the pattern to follow whenever we are working with our database. The first thing you want to do is you want to bring in any changes that have been made since the last time you worked with this project. So you're going to import the changes from a database. And this can be a different database than even your testing database. Maybe this is the central development database that everyone points to. You can bring the changes in from that. And then you can just be publishing to your local DB for your own work. But however you do it, you bring in the changes from whenever you last worked. That way, if you have a DBA or somebody else that really likes SSMS and wants to make those changes there, they can do so. You bring those changes into your project so you have them, and then at the end, you publish. So you, at the start, bring the changes in. At the end, you publish. You may want to do a schema compare at the end. The SQL Server data tools really adds to this process. How do we do things like source control, refactoring, automated deployments, and even the pre and post scripts that we can add. So we'll look at those in the next section.